You know, in the Bible, Jesus says that ye are gods, and that we are basically co-creators with him. He's the creator, but we are co-creators. And we are made in God's image. And I don't know what it is recently, but for the last few years, I guess you could consider that recent, it seems like everything is just so fake, everything is so gay, and everything is so ritualistic in the sense that there's just a lot of evil and pervasive evil in the world. And we got to go into these topics whether or not we're going to be rejected or accepted, because it just, we all know something's not right. Okay, we all know something's off with the way the world is and how the leaderships across the world are really not taking any kind of acute precautions or sustainable measures. And we can't even use those words like sustainability, like sustainable energy. We can't even use certain words anymore because they've been so eroded from their own meaning. We're in this constant state of flux where words are being redefined at every second of every point in time. And if you don't get the exact definition of whatever it is this word it means today, then you're going to be, ostracized and whatnot. And then we've got all of the conspiracy stuff going on and all that, and some of it, in my estimation, is a little bit too far reaching because it doesn't feel grounded when I hear it. It doesn't feel like it's grounding. Sometimes it can feel like the truth, but it doesn't ground you. And I think that the difference between something that grounds you and something that's maybe just a convenient anti-truth, you might say, is that, well, one's going to sustain you in the sense that you're going to be feeling more content, more within yourself, and the world is going to shift. Like, don't get me wrong, the world will shift before you. You might feel like even though you're becoming more sane, you're becoming more crazy to other people. And I've actually never made a tinfoil hat before. I've never made one of these before, but I figured if we're going to make a video like this, we might as well go all in. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but supposedly the tinfoil hats, this one, they've turned into aluminum foil over the years, right? But tinfoil hats were believed to stop the frequencies from the government trying to penetrate your mind and, implement all these subconscious things. And people thought that these were crazy people, and honestly, it's not a bad idea. It's kind of like Magneto when it comes to Xavier, Professor Xavier. Magneto uses that helmet so that he doesn't have his mind controlled by Professor Xavier. And, you can say what you want about it, but I actually kind of thought it was, for the silliness that it is, it's kind of ingenious to some degree. But, the term conspiracy theory or theorist started after JFK's assassination. I don't think it's any coincidence that nowadays we are seeing more and more of these doomer maxers, and they're not even knowing that they're doomer maxing. Okay, I've talked a little bit about this recently, where if you're going to doomer max, you got to go all in on the doomer. You got to go all in, man. Go down the rabbit hole. Check and see what's there. Because if you really want to know where you are in your life, you're going to find out. Jesus says, knock and the door shall be opened unto you, right? And that brings us to a point within the society, is that everybody's operating off of a third dimensional point of view. They're not operating from an interdimensional point of view. You see, you can jump timelines if you really wanted to. And you can pray for yourself. like your past self or your future self, whatever it is that you feel is necessary, right? You can do these things. You can pray for the past and future self of others as well as the present, because the present is the only moment that we really have. Time itself is only experienced linearly in the third dimension, whereas in the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension, it's more like a navigation tool. You can think about it if you've ever seen Interstellar. I think they did a fantastic job. I keep having to relight this because I get so focused on chatting. But anyway, if you've seen Interstellar, then you'll know what I'm talking about, where towards the end he goes through the black hole, and then once he's in the black hole, he sees, the same moment, but different times of that same moment and same place. And he can travel through it. The fourth dimension, time is just a place to travel in the fourth dimension for these people, right? These higher sophisticated beings. And the same thing goes with information for your own life. You might have to be able, if you want to go to the grocery store, or if you want to go to, the gym or the coffee shop, whatever it is, church, whatever the case may be. Maybe there's a favorite park that you want to go to. You have to physically walk there, right? You have to physically walk, and you have to experience the time that it takes to get there linearly. Whereas it's not that way with the fourth dimension and such. And this is where I think a lot of conspiracy theorists and such of the kind get a little lost, because they don't recognize that some rabbit holes are created by the government. Some rabbit holes are created by these people that don't want to see you get to the actual truth. They want to keep you stuck. They want to give you these false clues, right? It's kind of like, have you ever seen National Treasure with, what's his name? Nicolas Cage. Ever seen National Treasure? That movie is really brilliant. I actually really liked it growing up. I don't know the exact historical significance of it as far as its intellectual consistency, but because I haven't seen it for a long time. But I remember that they went on a hunt, for this hidden American treasure. And there was all these clues, and then that clue led to another clue, and that clue led to another clue. And then finally, after a while, they think to themselves that there's just a bunch of clues to just keep them away from the actual treasure. They're false clues. When in reality, there are certain things that you can actually see and that you can experience where it'll lead you to that treasure. And this is what Jesus means when he says, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. You have to think about this, right? So I had a vision earlier in my meditation, and I saw this river, and I saw a moving river, and I heard the words, mercy flows downstream. Now, in the moment, I didn't exactly know who it was for or what it was for, because it felt like it was for one person specifically. But then the more I let myself just be marinated into the vision, it kind of went out to the universe, really, and just was like a main message to everybody that has ears to hear and eyes to see to this message, that wants to hear this message. And we have to remember, when we're digging through certain things going on in the world, no matter what kind of topic it is, we must recognize that we're all flowing downstream. If you're trying to push a rock up the hill, there's sometimes there's a reason and there's a good purpose for that. But if you're doing that all the time, you're not going to experience the totality of life. And I think a lot of the times people get stuck in these time loops where they're not able to be that interdimensional being that they really are, and they can't really fortify themselves in their own bodies. And to a large degree, that's what it takes. It takes you being comfortable in your own body so that you don't get caught up in the storm of the chaos. If you can be calm, if you can be cool, if you can be collected, while still analyzing the situation and be like, okay, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't look right. This doesn't really seem right either. Okay, but that looks right. That makes sense. That makes sense. But this doesn't make sense, and that does. You see what I'm saying? So you can actually be grounded, because that's going to be the main aim, I would say, and your most useful sense of purpose when analyzing the chaos of the world. This tastes like cherry ice cream, by the way. It's really nice. I just got it new today. It's been a few days since I've been able to come out and enjoy the weather outside in a way where I actually have the time, to make this an event, to come out and do this kind of thing. But it's kind of nice, it's nice. But anyways, the main thing that people have a difficult time with, I think, when they're seeing the reality before them really shift in a way that's unsettling, is they start to try to see patterns where there aren't any patterns. And that can be a dangerous thing, right? I know that's something that has happened to me in the past, where I tried to see patterns where there weren't actually patterns. It was just like this conglomerate of information, and I was consumed by the information. Whereas now, I never get to that point. I don't ever let myself get to that point, because I know what it feels like to be at that point now. I know what it's like to feel grounded. I know what it's like to see reality as it is. And I know what it's like to just simply exist in a state of almost ecstasy. No matter when and whenever I want it. Like, life is not always about suffering, yes. Like, it's true that you need to carry your cross. But, and we do live in dark times, I would say that, but are you kidding me? Look around you right now, wherever you are. Whether you're in the city or you're in nature or wherever you are, there's something to appreciate there. I was walking outside of the gym this morning, and the trees on the mountains are starting to get that really crimson red color. And I just took a moment to just pause and look at them before I got in the car to go home. And I just sat there and I just watched them. I just watched the trees. And I thought to myself, thank you, God, for making these beautiful colors. All right. And then I moved on. Just that small little token of appreciation for God's creation. Hey, that rhymed. But yeah, it's true. You can do that. And those kinds of little moments will ground you. Just a second. Because beauty is going to ultimately give you a sense of true divinity to some degree. That's the thing about beauty, is that no matter what, it can, this is one of the reasons why women are so beautiful, right? Like, I genuinely believe that women are, if not the most beautiful creation that God has ever done. It's in some ways, it's just the female figure is just so beautiful, right? But, there's more to be said about that, but the ultimate image of beauty in of itself is transcendental. It's transcendental, rather. And there's something that captivates us about beauty. And it's not just a woman's beauty, but maybe a piece of art or something like this. And this kind of beauty will ground you. And appreciating beauty will ground you. This is why creativity is so important as well, and why I advocate so much for creativity. Everybody that I do one-on-one mentorship calls with, I always advocate for them to do something creative, because you have to be able to be that co-creator, that co-participant. If you want to be in the simulation, then you're going to be in the matrix. But if you want to be in the simulator, or with the simulator, let's use our semantics appropriately here. If you want to be with the simulator, then you're going to be with God. That's the way that I see it, is that we're either in the simulation or we're with the simulator. Because the simulator is going to be, maybe people call it the creative source or the source of creation. I just call it Jesus Christ, because that's who he is and who he was. But, depending on who you are, you're going to have a certain view of it. But what matters is if you're in spirit and truth. And I think, there's a lot of characters online, a lot of these influencers. To those people that have gotten this far in the video, this is going to be the kind of information that's for you, okay? A lot of influencers are basically sellouts, okay? You notice that I don't have any sponsors, okay? I'm not taking any money from anywhere other than me. Like I am me, and I am my own sponsor. But I also provide services because I actually believe in what I'm doing. I know that what I have to offer can help people because I've seen the results. I've worked with over 350 people worldwide. I've seen things, I've experienced things in my own life and with these people that many people don't have the opportunity to have the kinds of conversations that I've had with these kinds of people. I've been able to communicate with people of all different socioeconomic classes, and so I have a really healthy, rich taste as far as the cultural sense of what's happening in the spirit of the time. And no, I'm not always correct on everything, and I'm willing to be corrected, because that's a big part of wisdom, right? If you can be grateful for the correction, then you're on the right path. Because if you know that you can be corrected. But then there's this thing called conviction. And recently with the recent events, I've been convicted, not necessarily in the sense that that's maybe not the proper phrasing. It's like I'm holding steadfast to my convictions of what I'm seeing in my discernment. And I understand that I have not experienced the totality of everybody's experience. I know that. But I have to be able to still independently think for myself of what's going on. I'm not going to be allocating my critical faculties. I'm not going to be, unless people have, information that maybe I don't, I'm going to ask people if they know, because I'm willing to accept what I don't know. But I'm also going to stand my ground and hold steadfast to my convictions when I see something with my discernment, and I'm like, yeah, no. And especially with recent events, there's just too many coincidences that I simply cannot overlook. I don't have, we're in a state of war to some degree, right? If anything over the last month that we've learned about the state of our existence as a species is that we're in a certain kind of war that we've never seen before. And in war, we have to be able to access the warrior archetype. Okay, well, what does the warrior archetype do? He knows when it's time to fight and when it's not time to fight. Okay, and he has to be able to make decisions in accordance to just what he knows already, because you don't always have time to take a step back and analyze things. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't do that. I think it's appropriate that you do that, because you have to be able to step back and detach yourself from things. But if you're going to just let people tell you how you should live your life and you're just supposed to not question it, no thanks. Count me out, baby. That's not me. But anyways, guys, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. I wanted to come on here and talk about this topic because it seems like there's something that a lot of people are They're almost afraid to talk about their own ideas. And what I'm doing right now, talking into the microphone of this phone, it's one of the most dangerous things that anybody can be doing right now. So do with that information what you will, and I hope everybody stays blessed. I hope everybody has a peaceful rest of your day. And with all that being said, peace. Until next time.